We're going to start working on the WES 2 assignment. To begin, scroll down in Content and download the WES 2 rubric and reflection materials. When you pull it up, it's going to look like this. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to objectively assess yourself on these 3 skills using the gradebook in our course. If you look over on the left-hand column of the document, it tells you how each skill is being assessed. So for time management, you're going to count the number of assignments you've missed this far in the term. For productivity and quality of work, you're going to enter where your current average falls. And for participation and teamwork, you're going to look at your team score. All 3 of these will be found in the grades link in D2L. So let's minimize this and go to grades. If you scroll up and look across your lines here and click into your grades link, what you should see is something like this. Your current average will be one of the first things you see, so we can go ahead and enter that now. You'll simply scroll over to the far side and look at the percentage grade. Then you'll go back to your WES rubric, noting that this is the one that assesses your current average, and highlight the one into which your current average falls. Back to grades. If you look down just a little bit further, you'll see something that says team score. Scroll over to the far right side and look at that grade. Then back on your WES rubric, that'll be your participation and teamwork score. Highlight the area that your average falls into. And then finally, time management asks us to count the number of assignments missed this term. Back to grades, we're going to look on the far right side. For any assignment that you have a 0 or a 1%, you're going to count. Anything that is blank, you will not include because it has not yet been graded. So count the numbers of 0s and 1s that you have all the way down the line. If you don't have any 0s or 1s, highlight missed none. If you had 1 or 2 0s or 1s, highlight this area. 3 or 4, highlight this area. And if you had 5 or more 0s or 1s, highlight this area. Once you've highlighted one choice for each of the 3 rows, you're ready to begin the next page. The first thing it asks you to do for each of the skills is to write what score you gave yourself on WES 1. We'll come back to that. The second thing it asks you to do is to enter your score on WES 2. That's what we just did above. So for B, on each of the skills, enter the scores that you just gave yourself on the rubric above. For each of the work ethic skills, I've now entered the scores from the rubric above for line B. Now, I'm going to go find my WES 1 submission. Minimize this and click into your Assignments link. Scroll down in Assignments and look at your WES 1 submission. Yours looks a little different than mine. Just to the right of the submission link, you should have your submissions. Click into that and pull up your WES 1. When I open up my WES 1 assignment, it looks like this. I'm going to scroll down past the reflection area and look at the rubric on this document. My WES 1 is on the left here, and my WES 2 that I'm working on now is on the right. For Part A, for each of the skills, I need to transfer my scores from WES 1 rubric into this area. Now what we can see on this final page of the WES 2 is that for A, we have the score that we initially gave ourselves on the WES 1 assignment. This score reflects that at the beginning of the term, I did not expect to miss any assignments in the course. In B, for each one, what I have now is what my actual score is at the midpoint of the course. So while I expected to miss no assignments, I've already at midterm missed 3 or 4. Your job now to complete this assignment is to enter the information for Part C and D on each of the 3 skills. So if I assumed I would miss none, but I've actually missed 3 or 4 assignments, that's what I discuss here. That's the differences between these scores. So the difference I'm discussing here is I did not expect to miss any work, but I've already missed 3 at the midpoint of the course. That is simply discussing the difference between my expectations and reality. And then in Part D, I'd like for you to discuss what improvements you can make in order to raise your score in this area before the end of the course. We're now at midterm. You've already completed half of the coursework. This week, you begin the second half of the coursework. That means you still have just as much time to improve your score as you've had for your score to develop thus far. Think critically here about what improvements you can make to ensure that your score raises by the end of the term. Here, I said I will begin working on my assignments at the beginning of the week instead of waiting until the end of the week when the work is due. If I do this, it'll prevent me from running out of time to get my assignments in before the due date. If I tend to do my work on Sundays, for example, I may need to do 2 weeks of work this Sunday so that I'm now working ahead instead of falling behind. I can also decide to work on my classwork on Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays instead of just on Sundays. Try to be as specific here as you can. The more specific you are with your goal, the more likely you are to actually see an improvement in your scores. Complete C and D for all 3 skills. Once you've completed the rubric score and A through D for all 3 skills, you're ready to save your document and submit it. Make sure when you save to save it as a Word document or a PDF, and then go back to your Week 6 content and scroll down in Content so that you can submit to the WES 2 submission folder.